Brother, I'm going run a wild Hulk Hogan. If I like it's a moment, I'll make sure it's an explosion. Cause lately I've been seeing stars, trying to kick out on this short course. But it's no holds barred, middle fingers like I'm Stone Cold.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We're back with another episode of the Slap and Meat Wrestling Podcast. That's DJWAVYD. I'm WeTooDeep, and we are in for a pretty exciting show for you. But before we get to there, as always, you see he's wearing his new Yeet shirt. I'm wearing the CM Punk. This thing came in today just on time because we're going to, again, talk about CM Punk, get Wavy D's opinions on that, I guess you could say, footage that showed on AEW. But he's pointing down at that QR code. Go click there. It'll take you to WWE's website and will help, support the podcast. Again, if you're listening on, Apple or Amazon or all of those podcast networks, the link will also be in the description. But now that that's out of the way, I let Wavy D cook up our Let's Go Cooking question this week. He said he had a good one, and when he sent it to me, it's a good one. So I'm gonna read it, and we'll. Alrighty. So he said this right here. Drew McIntyre has roughly 5 to 6 weeks left on his contract. Book an angle where he manages to win the World Heavyweight title, and then takes it on the road with him to defend it across the Indies and other promotions. And how does that title make its way back to the WWE? As always, I'm gonna let him start. See what he's cooked up for us, and that'll give me a chance to continue to think on this one.
All right. So the building blocks for what I'm thinking is that if you look at Damian Priest and the Judgment Day this past Monday night on Raw, especially with Rhea Ripley gone, it started to butt heads already.
Right.
Damian came out to look to look Jey Uso right in the eyes before their upcoming heavyweight title match. And from behind, he gets Jey Uso gets jumped by Finn Balor, Dominic Mysterio, and JD McDonough. And Damian Priest wasn't too happy with that. He was like, "What are y'all doing out here? This wasn't the plan." All right. So I think that this is going to transgress into Damian Priest and the Judgment Day splitting ways. I think that Dominic Mysterio goes on to join Legado del Fantasma. All right, he goes on to hang out with those boys. Either that, or maybe he gets drafted over there. Then he hangs out with them. I think Finn and JD do their own thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think they split up as a tag team. Mm-hmm. I do know Finn's contract is coming up. I don't know if he signed his own new contract. Maybe Finn Balor jump ship to AEW to have some Bullet Club memories and some first time ever dream matches.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Go to Finn Balor, do your thing. I would like to see Dominic Mysterio and JD kind of like stay as a tag team. I like those guys hanging around. Like they remind me of Waller in theory. I like those guys around. But so we got Judgment Day splitting up, whether it be just getting drafted elsewhere or like physically splitting up, getting into fights with each other. I think the latter, where they split up and get into fights and it gets physical, because I think you can have Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre at Backlash. And, it's gonna stink because it makes Damian look like a real transitional champion.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's outside interference and they cost Damian the title, it protects him a little bit. But yeah, so you have Judgment Day turn on Damian. Drew McIntyre wins the title. But going into it, you can have like the kind of CM Punk thing where he says, I'm winning the title and I'm leaving, back when he was facing Cena.
Mm-hmm.
Was it 2013 Money in the Bank or whatever it was? 2011 Money in the Bank? Or whatever that year that was. So you have Drew, tease that, this company doesn't deserve him. He's going to take this ball and go home. And that's exactly what Drew does. Drew wins the title. He says he's not renewing his contract, for on screen or whatever. So he's not renewing it. And then he goes on to indie shows and smaller promotions. Like, is Evolve still a thing? That's not really a thing anymore, right?
No, WWE bought that out. But Progress, I still think, is a thing in the UK.
Progress. He can go to TNA because WWE and TNA have a working relationship. He can go to TNA as his Drew Gallows character.
Mm-hmm.
He can defend it against someone like like Moose and Nick Nemeth. He can go over to. I mean, you could say Stardom or New Japan. I'm not sure how the relationship is with that because it includes AEW. I'm not sure what their paperwork is. But yeah, you have Drew going around the country, defending on smaller indie shows, and he does this. I think going all the way until SummerSlam or past Money in the Bank. It goes Money in the Bank, then SummerSlam, right? Money in the Bank first.
Let's see. Backlash, Saudi, Money in the Bank, and then there's something in between SummerSlam that hasn't been announced yet. I believe
it's not Clash, right?
It is Clash. Clash. So it's Backlash, Saudi, Clash, and then Money in the Bank.
Oh, so Clash is before Money in the Bank?
Yes.
Okay. So I mean,
what
I'm thinking is you get Drew's holding on to this title throughout these pay-per-views, right? He can maybe come back, defend that Clash of the Castle.
Okay.
But if he doesn't, what I'm thinking is you get the Money in the Bank winner, right? Money in the Bank guy wins it, and then Triple H sends him on a mission. Mm-hmm. Say Drew McIntyre is going to be performing at the next TNA pay-per-view.
Okay.
He's defending his World Heavyweight title at the pay-per-view.
Okay.
Triple H sends a wrestler on a mission with the briefcase to go cash in at Drew McIntyre at the TNA pay-per-view, and then they bring the title back home with WWE that way.
Okay. Understood.
Imagine Drew McIntyre finishes his match at the TNA pay-per-view, and then out of nowhere, the game's music hits. Do you want to play the game? And then Drew's in the ring after his match all tired. And then Triple H says, we could have done this the easy way, but he chose to do it the hard way.
Right.
And then he sends out like Gunther. Say Gunther was Money in the Bank.
Right.
He sends out Gunther to destroy Drew McIntyre in the middle of the TNA ring and bring the title back home.
Okay. I like that. It's a little bit different than mine. You started off pretty similar to me. But then, so I do want to just go ahead and clarify the pay-per-view. So yeah, Backlash is on May 4th. Saudi, which is King of the Ring, King and Queen of the Ring, is May 25th. Clash of the Castle is June 15th. Money in the Bank's July 6th. Then it's SummerSlam and Bash at Berlin in August. And so for me, I have Drew and CM Punk. Well, let's start with Damian Priest because he's the champion. I have the same basic idea. We're going to talk about Rhea Ripley here in a minute. And with her being hurt, she's sort of been like the on-screen leader of the group. Mm-hmm. And we noticed yesterday on Raw, Damian's sort of trying to be that leader. When there's a power, when there's no one in power, there's a vacuum. Someone ends up becoming in power. Mm-hmm. And it looks like that's going to be Damian, but he's not really good at it. And Dom's doing his own thing. I do believe Finn and JD goes and do their own thing. And that whole group with Rhea, and we'll talk about this with Rhea Ripley sort of out of action. While it's a bad thing, I think it's also a good thing because it creates an easy way to separate Judgment Day. There's a good way to build that story there. And so I do think they separate. And because of that, in a similar situation to where Roman needed the bloodline to win, Priest really needs Judgment Day to help him win. Sort of the same gimmick, to be honest with you. And so at Backlash, he's fighting Jey Uso, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So he retains against Jey Uso at Backlash, which is fine because that gives McIntyre time to face Punk. McIntyre beats Punk. Heading into King and Queen of the Ring, you're going to need your big stars. I think we get a McIntyre and Punk one final time, but it also gets announced at Backlash. I would have a tournament for Priest's next opponent. I would just announce we're going to have a number one contenders tournament with the finals being at King and Queen of the Ring. I'm assuming most of that event's just going to be the King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring tournament. Just a way to do a quick little show like that. And then have the finals of the number one contender for Money in the Bank. Or excuse me, for Clash at the Castle. And the finals will end up being Punk versus McIntyre.
Mm-hmm.
Then McIntyre wins in Saudi to become the number one contender. But by this point, his contract will be up. By the time they get to Clash at the Castle, technically, he wouldn't be a WWE superstar.
Okay.
And so I would press that point heavy. Vince McMahon typically wouldn't, but Triple H seems to be going a different direction with, I would be super transparent. Hey, Drew McIntyre is not a contracted superstar. And I would make it almost that the story. It's a real life thing, but I would make it the story to the point where you couldn't tell where kayfabe ends and begins. Michael Cole, Pat McAfee could completely stress that, and they'll do a very good job of getting that over. So then we get the Clash at the Castle, and Drew wins the title. He beats Priest. Which then, McAfee's really good at being over excessive with his reactions. He could talk about, oh, we got a non-contracted superstar as our champion. And I would have McIntyre sort of run off like Punk did against Cena when he won it, and through the crowd do the little kiss goodbye. And we don't see him again until, we don't see him. He's traveling. He's not contracted. So he starts showing up at these indie shows. Some of the bigger ones, what is it? Like the New England wrestling up north near you guys. Yep. That's a bigger one. We got some big ones in Florida and California and Texas, but I'd even have them go and do like Progress in the UK or show up at a TNA show. Have him show up on TNA, and he doesn't even have to be. He doesn't even have to be Drew Galloway. He could literally be Drew McIntyre, and have him show up and, like you said, defended against Moose, defended against Nick Nemeth. Defended on some indie show against literally anybody. And obviously he'll retain it. You're not going to have some indie superstar, win the WWE title. But it would be a very good way to build relationships. And if you announce that Drew McIntyre, WWE World Heavyweight Champion, is going to be on your indie show, it helps the indies as well. People will come out. And so then at Money in the Bank, I'm with you. I think the only obvious one is Gunther. And so Gunther wins. But Drew hasn't been on screen since he won the title at Clash at the Castle. So Gunther starts calling out that if McIntyre is not going to show up, he's going to find him. And so he starts following him, and he doesn't cash in, but McIntyre finishes an indie show and Gunther comes out, or Gunther's music starts playing, and maybe Imperium follows him. And so we get through SummerSlam, no McIntyre. So Gunther's tired of it. So we get to Bash at Berlin. Now Gunther's going to have to be on the card. You're not going to hide him from that card in Berlin. So I'd have him, just do a one-on-one match against someone like Ilya Dragunov or something like that. Just, it's just to have a good match. I'd have it to the point where Dragunov attacks Gunther to the point where he, similar to their last match at NXT UK, where they beat the living shit out of each other, where Gunther is hospitalized. He starts the show and he's taken to the hospital. And Drew McIntyre shows up at the end. Now that he's safe, he shows up at the show. He cuts a promo to end it about how, they're never going to see this title in WWE again. And then Imperium attacks him. And then the lights go off. Come back on. Gunther's in the ring with the ref in the briefcase. Gunther wins the world championship in Berlin in front of his crowd.
Okay.
And so that's how I would book it. That's the best that I could do. If done right, I think Triple H could do it. However, I do personally believe Drew's re-signed. It's sort of like that MJF situation. They're not going to make that public. But even if he's not, I think you're right. I think Finn's almost done. I think AJ's about to retire.
Yeah.
I think Kevin just re-signed. There's Seth and Becky, I think, are about to end, but they'll re-sign pretty quick.
And also, if you need someone else who Triple H can like trust and like almost think of as like the hero of WWE, maybe that's an avenue for Seth Rollins to return.
Exactly. Yeah, Seth can come in. I almost feel like if Gunther brings it back, that'll turn him face. Almost in a way. So I'm kind of skeptical because I don't know if he'll play a good face character. But I don't know. I think it'd be interesting if they run something like this, because Vince definitely would never let his title on another show ever. But Triple H seems to be like the type of dude that'd be okay letting that happen.
Yeah.
Alrighty. We're gonna have you make those questions all the time because you're a lot more creative than I am. But we're gonna move on. We're gonna talk about the secondary company first, and that is AEW. And I actually mean that, the secondary company.
Okay.
So the first thing is, I guess it got reported today that there's a deal in the makings for Motor City Machine Guns. And I know you've been sort of wishful thinking them to WWE.
Yes.
But it does appear that it's not going to be signed anytime soon, but there's a deal in the works that they will be All Elite. Maybe this makes you an All Elite fan and you'll tune in to watch only their segments. But I know in the Discord we were sort of talking about this, which, by the way, link for the Discord in the description of the video. Join that conversation there, because a lot of times it does get intense a lot of times. I know over there you were talking about how you felt, my comment was, it's not a big loss. I personally don't see this as a big loss to WWE. But you do, and so I want to give you the opportunity to explain why, and then I'll tell you why I don't feel it as a big loss. But why is this a loss other than you personally wanted them to be there?
So, aside from me personally, first me personally, I love, I've been a big fan of Motor Machine Guns since I was a kid.
Right.
Like back in the day, like SmackDown versus Raw, 2008, 9, whatever. I would create them in the video game and I'll implement them onto the game. I would have them facing off, against the likes of like Rey Mysterio and Batista. They face off against DX, the Hardys. Like Motor City Machine Guns were my boys from TNA,
right.
Especially Prime TNA. Those were the boys. And so when I saw the chance that they were finally leaving TNA after all these years, they're finally, gonna test waters elsewhere. I was very hopeful that they would come to WWE. I was fantasy booking in my head, like, what if they get together with AJ, and AJ kind of like, so, new crew of guys behind him, and then they try to take over, like get the World Heavyweight title and then overthrow the show, kind of almost like a TNA invasion. But Motor City Machine Guns are like a top 10 tag team of all time in the wrestling industry. I don't know if that's a hot take or not, but I think they're top 10 all time in all of wrestling. Okay. So do I think WWE is gonna like necessarily lose sleep over this? No. Like they're still gonna, make money as usual, put on shows as usual, sell out arenas as usual. It's not gonna hurt them. But at some point I'm thinking, who's Triple H gonna sign? I know he signed CM Punk, but CM Punk had nowhere else to go pretty much.
Right.
But like at what point is Triple H gonna win these signing wars or these bid offs? You know what I'm saying? I know TKO's in charge of the money and and Nick Khan, all of them are in charge of the money, and they tend to give Triple H, whatever he needs to sign people if he sees fit. But like at what point are we gonna say Triple H is missing out on some signees? I know our tag team division is real good right now. It's stacked. We don't necessarily need them. But at one point are we just gonna stop guys going from AEW, going to AEW? I mean, You know, so I know we're gonna say, you know, Will Ospreay, you know, we didn't really lose out on him. You know, I do think he is the best wrestler in the world. As far as,
absolutely.
like we lost out on Will Ospreay. I'm not gonna lie. Do I think that he's gonna do good enough in AEW? I think Tony's smart enough to push Will, whether it's for good or bad. He's gonna push him and put him in all these dream matches. You know, these dream matches are gonna be on free TV.
Right.
But Okada, I don't really think is a huge loss. Because I mean, I like to see him, yes, but I'm not a huge fan of the New Japan wrestlers coming over, just because like the whole language barrier. It's hard for them to like connect with the crowd.
Right.
Like, you know, Shinsuke, you know, he got over with the crowd eventually. Asuka got over eventually, but you know, there's a long history of, you know, Japanese superstars not getting over in WWE just because of the language barrier. Mercedes Moné, I think that's her fault. You know, she chose the money, she chose the bag over WWE. But again, you're gonna have AEW, the AEW fans and the people and the WWE haters who are gonna tell you it's another signee that Triple H lost out on.
Right.
So eventually, you're gonna, you know, you need to sign these guys just to save face. You know, whether it's, you know, 100% true or valid, you're losing face sometimes, especially when people like me, where these are like some of your favorite wrestlers, and you finally get a chance to see them, you know, because we're in a Vince McMahon-less WWE. You think things would change, and these wrestlers would see the greener pastures, you know. Saying, and you think the North Machine Guns will want at least one run in WWE before they retire, because they're both in their like mid 40s, early to mid 40s.
Yeah.
Like both these guys are getting old.
Yeah.
But yeah, good luck to them in AEW. I hope they have some good matches with like FTR and the Bucks and whatnot. But we missed out on that one.
So I want to preface this kind of the same way you ended it. This is not a personal attack against Chris Sabin, and for whatever reason, I can't remember the other dude's name. Alex Shelley. First off, I'm glad TNA made him a singles champion until Sabin came back. I just always felt that that's pretty cool of them to do. TNA really respects their long-term people. That's kind of why I kind of hope before AJ retires, he gets one more run in TNA. But even if it's like as a WWE contracted wrestler and they have a partnership where he can just run for like 2 months, it doesn't even have to be as champion, but just let him retire on a TNA show, put him in the Hall of Fame. It's going to happen. But so there's no disrespect to Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin. I think while I'm not as exposed to who they are, I've seen enough to understand that I don't know if I'll agree with you with top 10 of all time, just because, I mean, there is some but I have Evolution in my top 10. And so there's groups that people will disagree with me as well. I don't necessarily think this is a loss, because I think Triple H is playing a different game than AEW is. I think AEW, you said the keywords, they're in the game of dream matches. Are there tons of them? Yeah, well, FTR, Motor City Machine Guns, Young Bucks, Motor City Machine Guns. Just list off all the team. Blackpool Combat Club. Though I don't necessarily know which two. Moxley and Claudio against Motor City Machine Guns. And so yeah, there's dream matches there. Are there dream matches in WWE? Absolutely. Motor City Machine Guns, New Day. We can't do the Usos right now, because even though they do kind of look like they're about to reform the Usos, but we there's a lot of dream matches there as well. I just don't think Triple H is in the business of dream matches right now. I think he understands what's best for business long term, at least for Endeavor and TKO, is just build the younger stars because they're cheaper. If anyone, I've been trying to sort of say this with Endeavor. They did it with UFC. Any of the expensive contracts they let expire, they're really sort of money savvy. They care about that return on investment. And so I think rather than going and spending $5-6 million on Mercedes Moné, well, we got 10 of them in NXT that could do the same thing Mercedes Moné could do. So we're just going to build those instead. Instead of going and signing, as much as I want Moose in WWE, you basically have Moose in Obafemi. And so I think the business model is different, where WWE is more in the aim of developmental, where AEW is just going to sign all the and I don't use old as a negative here. More experienced, they're going to sign the more experienced veterans that are going to draw the indie crowd. I don't think a lot of the casual fan base know who they are enough for WWE to really lose out on. Now, would it be great for them to show up? Absolutely. It's similar to how I was when CM Punk came back. We didn't need him, but now that he's here, fantastic. I want to thank AEW though for making me a CM Punk fan, because we'll transition into that, because that's what we're going to talk about next. I talked about it last Friday just a little bit. But last Wednesday they aired the All in London footage that was supposed to make CM Punk look bad, but I think it had the opposite effect, to the point I bought a CM Punk t-shirt, and I never buy t-shirts because this thing I'll probably wear this twice. I'll wash it and forget that it's in there and dry it, and then it won't fit again. So I want to get your thoughts on this whole CM Punk footage. Now that we've heard Cornette. Oh, I actually haven't heard Cornette's take on it yet, but I've heard Bischoff's take on it. We've heard all of our favorite media people. We've been talking about it for almost a week now. What's your thoughts on this all-in footage? Did it change your mind on the whole situation, or what do you got to say about it? Because let me set up the context here. This man was in the casual wrestling Discord and this AEW watch-along chat that no one ever talks in, and was like, look, y'all got to tune in. And as soon as this footage ends, he turns the damn show off and did exactly like I thought was going to happen. And everyone was going to watch for this Punk footage and then turn the TV off. So what you got to say about it?
I tried to give AEW the benefit of the doubt. Like WeTooDeep said, I was in the Discord when the AEW watch along chat. There was not one message in that chat. We never watched AEW together. Not one message. I was the first message in that group's history, in that chat's history. I was like, guys, all eyes are gonna be on it. Let's give it a chance. You know what I'm saying? We're all gonna watch it on Twitter anyways, but let's give it a chance. Let's watch it live. Let's watch the show. Let's see what Tony and them could do, because he's gonna have an eye on the show tonight. Let's see what he can do in hopes of retaining a percentage of the audience. I was a couple minutes late to the show. I hopped on the show around like 8:03, 8:05.
Okay.
I saw Swerve, like he went through a table or something. I didn't know how he got there because I was a little late to the show. But it just seemed weird that they kick off whatever. You kick off with your top feud. The guy goes through a table. And I'm not sure. I don't know if they heard from him for the rest of the night, because I started watching after a while. I'm not sure if they went back for the main event or whatnot. But we get to that point, and then we go into an Edge versus Penta. What's his name?
Yeah, Penta. He has like 4 names. Pentagon Jr., I think is his actual name, but Penta El Zero Miedo or whatever the fuck they call it.
Yeah, I watched Penta. I watched Edge versus Penta.
Yeah,
they put on a really good match. Now, do they have a story currently going on? I don't know, because I don't watch the weekly show. But Edge versus Penta was a really good match.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a huge fan of picture-in-picture, because without the commentary, I tend to
zone out.
I tend to zone out, go on my phone. So I figure at that point you might as well go to a full-on commercial, get rid of picture-in-picture. That's just my take. But then we go from Edge and Penta into, which I believe was the Bucks were introducing the footage. I believe that was the next segment.
I believe so, yeah.
Which was also weird, because they didn't, it was not like it was like the top of the 9 o'clock hour or anything. They started the segment at like 8:40.
Yep.
I'm like, okay, so the Bucks are introducing it, doing their Healy thing backstage, whatever. I'm still thinking they might do a bait and switch at this point.
Right.
But then they legit air the footage. There's no sound. It's just some CCTV footage, however you say it. Just some regular security footage. And CM Punk, Jack Perry walks in from his match. You can see Samoa Joe in the corner. You can see agents, producers, the referees, chilling and Gorilla, whatever. Jack Perry walks in. CM Punk walks in. They talk. And then CM Punk shoves him. And then CM Punk puts him in a headlock. And then CM Punk shouts something at the monitors or the people behind the monitors. And then he walks away. And I was like, is that not what CM Punk said happened on the Ariel Helwani interview?
Right.
I feel like that's exactly what CM Punk said he did. And, Ariel Helwani, before he got it copyrighted, which is another conversation for a little bit later, Tony Khan and yeah. But anyways, Ariel Helwani did a side-by-side of CM Punk describing the scenario and then it playing out on screen. And literally word for word, bar for bar, motion for motion, literally what Punk said happened. And then apparently Tony Khan feared for his life when CM Punk looked over at him, yelled at him, and walked away. That's what caused Tony Khan to fear for his life. Now, aside from AEW airing this and making CM Punk look even better, so apparently their goal behind this was to push a feud between the Bucks and FTR and somehow bring Jack Perry back in as a bad guy, which I don't get how. Okay, I'll let you talk, and I'll go into the logistics on why I don't think this story makes any sense. But you go ahead.
So, like I said on Friday, if that was their intended goal, they completely flopped. Because in this process, if you're trying to build, first off, I understand the story between Young Bucks and FTR because, in a way, their whole story is, well, we were distracted by CM Punk, basically.
Even though the Bucks weren't there, they didn't even see what happened.
Well, I guess their idea was their story is, we're the EVPs, and so we had to deal with this off screen, and then we had to go and do our match, and we were distracted, and that's why we lost. Doesn't make much sense, but there's a little bit there that I can hang on to. This whole idea of bringing back Jack Perry, though, as a part of this makes zero sense. No one's going to take this dude serious. They just saw this dude get bitch slapped, basically, and manhandled by CM Punk. And then it makes Tony Khan look like an idiot, because if this dude's fearing for his life because someone's yelling at him, like this, I don't know if you saw like the backstage footage where like Brock Lesnar came back and threw the belt at Vince.
Yeah.
And that was more aggressive than what CM Punk did to Tony Khan.
Yeah.
Like this happens in the wrestling locker rooms. Like Samoa Joe, I believe, was interviewed during the time this happened. It was like, oh, I've seen worse fights than that. It wasn't that serious. And so if you're going to bring Jack Perry back, and we saw that last weekend at the New Japan show, he comes out, and of course he's going to play this up because that's what they kind of hoped to do with it anyways, to make him seem important, even though he's really not. But he gets booed out of the arena with like, you got choked out chants.
Yeah.
And I've heard other things, like they were sort of cheering him as well. I mean, everyone's going to be split in the New Japan audience, but I don't really see the positive, because you don't get a payoff with this feud. Perry will never fight Punk again. And so in doing this, like, what's the payoff of this whole story outside of you just made CM Punk people's favorite wrestler?
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to say he's my favorite wrestler, but he's up there. I've gained a lot of, because everyone made him out to be this bad dude. Like he punched him. Dude pushed him back, which is what you're trained to do in self-defense. And like I explained on Friday, even if Jack Perry didn't look aggressive, you can still be the aggressor. If he came in and said, oh, what are you going to do about it? He could be the calmest person in the room. That's an aggressive statement. It's also one that if you say it to the wrong person, they're going to show you what they're going to do about it. And that's exactly what Punk did. Some people aren't wired to just have it go in one ear and go out the other and mind their own business. Punk is one of those people. He's gonna tell you what he thinks, and I don't necessarily think he was wrong in this situation. Seeing the footage, like, first off, everything he said he did actually played out in front of you, and everyone's like, well, you can't yell at your boss. Okay, yeah, in a normal situation, but this isn't a normal job. This isn't an office job. This isn't a 9 to 5. Tony Khan, if you're, everyone's like, well, if you're that fragile that a statement like, what are you going to do about it, gets you upset. That doesn't take in the whole history of the fact that this dude was left alone 24 hours ago in the airport. And for 2 years has basically been blamed for everything the Bucks and Hangman did to him.
Mm-hmm.
And so at some point, what did you expect was going to happen?
Like the crazy thing is, like, we've seen worse workplace fights at like basketball games or basketball practices. Like Draymond Green lay out his teammate, and like if the footage didn't go out on that, they weren't even going to talk about it.
Yeah, I forgot what team it was in the NFL. Every year there's a different brawl at a NFL team's summer camp.
Yeah,
that gets shown on TV and we talk about it. There's I was I used to work like fast food restaurants. I've seen worse fights like that, and we walked away and nothing got happened with it. It's just part of what happens when you're in a heated industry. But especially in like the sports world, like this has happened forever. I mean, I would hate to see the WWF locker room in the 80s. I'm sure this happened all the fucking time.
I still don't get I don't get the Jack Perry part of the story. So the way that our AEW aficionado, James the Junkyard Boy, Junkyard James, the way he was trying to tell it to us was that this is all story to turn Jack Perry to the biggest heel in the industry. But when Jack Perry comes out, when they showed the film, the video, the live arena was really chanting CM Punk. And then, and also, if Jack Perry is going to be the scapegoat and he got sent away by Tony Khan and the EVPs, but the EVPs are bad guys, how does one bad guy do something to another bad guy, not turn him into a good guy?
Right. Well, my whole problem with that is he's already claiming to be the scapegoat before this also. This just feels like a giant pivot to try to throw shade at CM Punk. And now they're making shit up on the fly, and none of it makes sense. But what do we expect? None of their stories ever make sense. And so this again just goes down where I think Tony Khan and James is gonna sit here and be like, well, he faced an entire WrestleMania weekend of them taking shots at him, as if Tony Khan hasn't been taking shots for the last 5 years. What this really comes down to is I believe Tony Khan thought that he could show this and it was actually going to work in his favor, and he doesn't understand that a lot of fans actually like CM Punk and see nothing wrong with what happened. I think a lot of people are really starting to see that it is off-fringe wrestling, and we see with the loss of viewership. They had a 29% increase this week. Last week. Let's see if they can keep it. I don't think, I said before the rating came out that if it's anything less than 800,000, it's a shame. I didn't think it was going to be as low as it was. It was like 819,000 average throughout the whole show. But if you take out the lead in of Big Bang Theory and you take out the last 15 minutes where most people, switch the channel to prepare for whatever comes on after, and you just do like the middle, hour and a half of the show, you average like 809,000, which, I mean, it's better than what it has been, but
that's also us people who are trying to
right. It's also, you also got to take into consideration how many WWE fans watched and then tuned off, because once, they were above the trend line over the last month, but as soon as that segment ended, they were at trend line or below, just like they always are.
Yeah, because even though I gave him a chance, I told the rest of the Discord to give him a chance. Like
Right.
as soon as FTR did their thing, and I turned the channel.
Right.
It was stupid. I was like, you literally had me watch and give your show a chance for this.
Right.
And like,
and there was so much potential there.
yeah.
Like Tony Khan literally was going to have the wrestling world tuned in to his show. And I'm not necessarily even against him showing the footage, but you got to create something out of it other than this, we were distracted and Jack Perry's trying to be a heel now or whatever. Like, I just don't think people really care about Jack Perry, to be completely honest with you. And so, you got some of the people like in the AEW universe that just hate CM Punk, and that's where my sort of point is this changed nobody's opinion.
Yeah.
It made the Jack Perry fans, the AEW fans, the CM Punk haters hate CM Punk more. It made the people who were CM Punk fans or, don't like Jack Perry, people like me who find that, that CM Punk really did nothing wrong in this situation, feel just as strong about that opinion. And then the people in the middle who don't really care, you didn't change their mind.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, there's no net gain into doing what they did. I don't think it hurt them, because that's the next question. Some people, especially the more WWE friendly, are sort of saying that AEW's dead. That this was the official beginning of the end of the company. Do you agree with this?
In the moment, the hype about it being like the final straw, it was definitely very enjoyable, and I definitely went along with the hype for a little bit. Mm-hmm. I think AEW has a few more mistakes that they're gonna make before it's really the downfall of AEW. Like right now, I think they're definitely at a low point. But like history shows that like you could come out of a low point. Like WWE had a low point back where like our hard cam side was empty for a lot of shows. You know what I'm saying? So AEW has a chance to come back, and I think it's great for wrestling if they do come back, and they are putting on a good show. But like the problem is that don't put on a crappy quality show and then complain that you don't have viewers or like when people try to tell you ways that you can improve it, and you're upset on like the feedback and the criticism that you don't want to take it, and you just call us haters,
right?
But it's like, bro, you have like 1,000 people in a 18,000 person arena. Like,
right.
It's one thing if you still had your crowd from like 3 years ago, where you were packing out every show you guys were at.
Right.
You guys are doing better numbers and breaking records, but now you're like on the opposite end of the spectrum where like you're breaking the bad records, where you're
right.
like you're not selling enough seats, and like you're borderline at 1,000 seats. Like, I think what's going to kill AEW is not paying attention to their live audience. You know what I'm saying? It's one thing if you can't get a TV deal, whatever, and you gotta stream your stuff. But like if you're having no live audience,
right,
go along with that, it's like you gotta make a change. Like go to Full Sail, go to some other college or some other town, go to Universal Studios, whatever.
Right.
Like, get a studio where you can pack out the show every week with like 600 people.
Right.
And just like have the atmosphere of a full show rather than like you have Samoa Joe or Edge speaking to the hardcam side with nobody there, and you got like 400 people behind him. Like these pictures, these videos of these empty arenas is bad.
Right.
It looks bad for these new people who gave like $6 million contracts to. Like Mercedes Moné hasn't done anything yet.
Right. So that's actually, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's actually what my Friday show is going to be about. What am I gonna, if I can control AEW, how do I fix it? And so I'm gonna fix the roster, and the big point that I sort of was making, a big point is the production. So I don't necessarily think let's close the casket and put it 6 feet deep yet. I don't think they're dead, but I think they're at the point where if we use the sort of sinking ship metaphor, They're taking on water, and they're taking
Yeah.
it on fast. However, you can fix that. I think the first fix has to be Tony Khan has to realize he can't be the dude to run this business. He needs to step back, just be the CEO or COO, and hire people with experience in the business. And I think they could correct course. If they get a good booking team that can tell good stories and fix that production, like you were saying, you can go to something like Universal Studios, fill up a 1,200 seat studio and create an intimate environment similar to what NXT has. And from TV, that'll feel better than going to a 4,000 or going to a 12,000 seat arena and putting 4,000 people in it. What I don't ever think AEW is going to die, because Tony Khan would just throw money at it. And so the problem's going to be, like you noticed, or like you've been saying, attendance is down for the TV shows. I understand their pay-per-view sellout, and that's going to be James's like critique. Oh, that we just sold out Greensboro 16,000. Well, it was a pay-per-view. It's going to sell. But you know, you're putting 3,000 people in for a Dynamite. You're doing Collision and ROH and Rampage on the same night, or Battle of the Belts on the same night, and you're having people literally in the middle of the show. And I've seen this live in person, because I've been one of these people where there's a Collision and there's an ROH for 2 hours after it, and people are literally leaving in between the shows because no one cares about ROH. And so you have people who buy tickets, they leave. You know, Tony Khan throws a little temper tantrum that got shown on. I don't really think it was that bad as people were making it out to be. But I mean, he was just acting like Tony Khan. That's how he is. I think a lot of these people, I'm gonna be completely honest, who are making it a bigger deal, have never been to an AEW show and don't understand how Tony is. But I just, the live audience isn't good. And, you know, if there's no one in the arenas, and why are you putting on a show? Why are you renting out 12,000 seat arenas to begin with?
Yeah.
I don't understand that.
Well, but before Tony Khan bought ROH, they ran out of a single arena, right? They did the shows in a weekly, or like a single arena weekly.
I know they taped Rampage and Dark, I believe, at Universal Studios.
No, I'm talking Ring of Honor.
Oh, Ring of Honor?
Well, when Ring of Honor was its own show, its own company,
Sinclair, I think they ran it similar to what TNA used to do.
Just run out of a single arena,
out of like a single arena, yeah. And they tape like 4 or 5 weeks at a time.
Yeah, I don't get why it's so hard. Like why Tony couldn't just keep that format. I know you want to take ROH on the road, but it's like have them do their weekly show on their own. If anything, do like a dark, like you know, before you have Dynamite on Wednesday,
right?
The hour before Dynamite, you do like 1 or 2 Ring of Honor matches to showcase that product, and then you do your Dynamite. The
problem is, and this I'll get into more depth with this on Friday. There's no exclusive roster, so ROH is literally AEW, and they just flip flop, and so you have to have, if you want to make ROH important, you have to have exclusive rosters for ROH and to me personally, I'll just go ahead and give a preview. I'm getting rid of getting rid of Rampage. I'm getting rid of Collision. You'll have ROH and you have Dynamite, 2 exclusive brands similar to Raw and SmackDown. You can run Dynamite on Wednesdays and ROH. I don't like the Saturday slot, to be honest with you. I would put it on Thursdays just because it's not real competition with TNA, because TNA is not on every TV.
Yeah.
And so I'd run them live. I'd run it from, hell, even use Daly's place, because you could black out that outdoor arena. You own it. You don't have to rent it because you own that stadium complex. Like, I don't understand why he's spending all this extra money on production that he doesn't have to. And so I don't know. We'll get more into that on Friday. That's going to be a fun episode. Let's talk about WWE now. So we alluded to it earlier in the Let's Get Cooking, and it's in the title. Rhea Ripley starts Raw. She comes out in a brace or a sling. She's hurt. She vacates the title. So before we talk about like who's gonna win the title, let's talk about Liv Morgan for a second. If there's anyone whose stock has fallen in my eye, because I used to be like the biggest Liv Morgan fan, I don't see the hype around her anymore. What do you think on this situation?
I mean, so I don't know. It's tough because Liv Morgan's cool, no?
Right. Like again, this isn't personal against Liv herself. I still think she has a valuable part, but when I forgot what episode it was, but we mentioned where like WWE should bring back like the Divas division, but not like the full Diva, like mud wrestling and all that. But like to me, Liv Morgan would fit there because she's not the best in the ring, she's not a good wrestler, but if you just used her for the eye candy that she is, she can still draw a crowd. When you put her against someone like Rhea, she stands out because she's not like Rhea. She's not like a Becky Lynch. And so I don't know. Because the typical response or some of the responses I've seen are like every time I see her, I cringe. Like it's not that bad. I think some people are overreacting just to overreact. But I don't think that she's a main card player, and WWE not having that mid-card women's title, I think it's coming, but I think that's why they're testing it in NXT to see if it works. But she would be fine as a mid-card champion. I just don't ever think she'll get past mid-card though.
See, the problem is that Liv Morgan fans are worse than the Cody Crybabies at the start.
Absolutely.
And Liv Morgan fans are so cringe, bro.
Yeah.
Like it makes you have a sour taste towards her, even though like without her fans, Liv Morgan is a very likable wrestler, a very likable person. I want to see her succeed.
Absolutely.
I do think her SmackDown Women's title reign definitely sours any expectations that people might have of her because her first run was so lackluster that they don't really want to see it again.
Right.
But Liv Morgan fans are so annoying right now, and they're like, risk, assumption of risk, and like accidents happen, and it's like no one's saying that they're not. Like it's not, it was an accident. No one's saying she did it on purpose.
Right.
But just because Rhea's going out doesn't mean we got to crown Liv the champion right now.
Exactly. So let's get into that. Who's going to be women's champion?
Is the set match Liv versus Nia? Is that the set match?
I'll be honest, I don't even know. I mean, all I know is it's vacated. I assumed we were going to get some sort of tournament. To me, the easy fix is just crown Queen of the Ring champion. That could be an easy fix. That could be an easy fix.
That's an easy fix. So what I'm thinking is like me personally, I'll give the title to someone who hasn't had the title really yet, who hasn't had a chance, and see if they can sink or swim. See if you can make money out of nothing. I'll put the title on like a Zoe Stark or a Shayna Baszler and see what they can do with it. Because right now Becky's on a break. Nia's already had title before. She has a stronger character now, and you can put the title on Nia, but I already know it's gonna get a lot of backlash because Nia still has all those haters that don't want to see her title. So just to avoid backlash, I'll keep the title off of Nia. Becky's away. All your other strong women wrestlers are on SmackDown right now, like the Raw Women's Division. Right. Is a little shallow as far as main event players.
Which is why I think you never wish someone gets hurt. And this is sort of right now it's going to be tough because Becky and Rhea are gone. But the draft is in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
So, I think it actually ends it's 10 days from now. So 7 days from this, for next week, next Friday will be the first day. And then 10 days from now, that Monday will be the end of the draft, which is fine. And so I would be petty if I'm Triple H. I'm gonna be completely honest. In the same idea that you're doing, let's put it on Jade. Put it on Jade. She has the look. I know she's in a tag team with Bianca, but let's put it on Jade. And I would be petty because Cody Rhodes and Jade will be the face of Raw. And that is literally the two biggest stars AEW ever, I think, could have had. And if there's some way you could put CM Punk, don't give the belt to Punk. I'm only kidding. But I don't think Punk wants the belt. He didn't want it in AEW. Why the hell would he want it here? He wants to put people over.
Well, low key, I put that belt on Chelsea Green. And
so if it's not Jade, Chelsea Green is the one I would pick.
Yeah.
I think it makes the most sense. She could come into Adam Pearce's office and talk about how she's calling management if she doesn't get a match, and she's going to have Adam Pearce fired, which, you know, depending on how you feel about his GM skills, you know.
Adam Pearce is an exceptional GM. Any promotion would be lucky to have Adam Pearce on their roster.
You're not. I mean, I'm a little biased, but I think Ava's the best on the best out there. She's giving us bangers.
She had no personality so far. They walked in the office like, Ava, I want so and so match. She goes, yeah, sure, why not? You want it, you got it.
All right, so you're saying it's just a nepotism hire because she's The Rock's daughter?
I mean, speaking of Ava, she does have Carmella Hayes versus Trick Williams in a steel cage match right now.
That match will have to be a banger. I'm about to watch it when we get off of here.
It just started.
All right.
But
damn, they're only gonna give it 6 minutes.
Oh wait, yeah, that's crazy. Unless XC is going over.
Unless there's an overage, but yeah.
I think there's signs put on Liv Morgan. You could put it on her, see if she can redeem herself. And also to all the fans online who are talking about why does Rhea have to vacate the title? It's like none of these men wrestlers ever have to vacate.
Right.
First of all, it's part of Roman's character, and also Seth was going into WrestleMania in a marquee situation.
Right. So Seth was never really he was hurt, but him being hurt was his story since Shinsuke. And so they made it a story. And so I want to talk about that because there's someone like James. James thinks everything's a work. And I think there's people like that in the wrestling universe that just want everything to be a work because they want to be worked. For everything that I've seen, this doesn't seem like a work to me. You don't have her vacate the title if it's a work. You just put her in a match with Liv Morgan. I mean, I don't know. You think it's a work, or is this?
Do you think Rhea got hurt earlier, maybe at WrestleMania, and then they used the Monday Night Raw as a storyline injury?
I think it was just a freak accident. I really do. I think it was just, she ran into the wall. It was, not a practiced second. I mean, these segments are always potentially dangerous. Again, I'm not going to blame anybody. It's just a freak accident. And so I don't think Liv should be punished for it, but I definitely don't think she should be rewarded with the title that she hasn't really, she just came back at Royal Rumble?
Yeah.
And hasn't really been inserted anywhere. And so I think we can run with this story of her revenge tour, have her going. I just don't, again, if you had a mid-card title for her to fight for, it would give her something of importance. She could go through the mid-card women and have a revenge tour. That way. Part of me feels like they're going to put this on Nia Jax, though.
I feel like if the final match is between Liv and Nia, I'd say give the title to Nia.
Right.
Yeah, that's who I'm saying.
It's her. I'd like to see Chelsea. Zoe Stark, like you said, would be a good choice.
I want to see Zoe or Shayna.
Yeah, I don't know about Shayna. I think Shayna's a little past her. I don't think she's marketable to a mass audience. I think that's what she'll work the mid card. She'll work the what's that show she worked at WrestleMania week? She'll work the blood sport type matches and stuff like that. I think that's the highest she'll go. I don't think people really have that much interest in her. With that, Adam Pearce, we were talking about him. He's in the ring with Triple H, and they give us what we wanted. New tag team title design. So I've seen some people, the majority of the people I've seen said they like the design. I have seen some that don't like it. What do you think about them?
I'm not gonna lie. I didn't even know that they were gonna give a new title design.
I didn't know either. This was
I
like
didn't know.
completely.
Yeah, it was out of the blue. I mean, I like how it keeps everything kind of uniform, but I guess that's also a downfall. Why a lot of people don't like it,
right?
Is because it's too uniform and it's too much like the other titles. But you gotta remember, at the end of the day, WWE is like a worldwide, like recognized brand,
and it's easy to market when you can have the same titles look the same. And I mean, this isn't anything unusual. Like UFC or TKO now owns it. Every UFC belt, no matter the weight division, is the same belt.
Yeah.
And so Raw's titles are going to be uniform. They're on Raw. SmackDown, I'm assuming SmackDown's going to get new tag design. And
SmackDown's going to be white?
I don't think they'll make the strap white, though, because that's the woman's design.
So how will will it look like the Universal title, maybe?
Yeah, I think it will. I don't think it'll be the exact same. I think, but it'll probably be, the same thing, and then maybe put like, I don't know, they're gonna rename it. Instead of being SmackDown Tag Team Champions, they'll probably be like, who knows? We'll find out on Friday probably. But I think it'll look similar to the Universal title with the tag team name on it. Part of me hopes they bring back like the old SmackDown Tag Team title, like the old like early 2000s design, but we know they're not going to do that. But I'm not against these. I'm just happy we don't have the bright red straps anymore. And the they called them like the nickel belts or whatever because of.
I look-y like the nickel belts.
I don't know. They were okay. I felt that they needed a redesign. I wasn't a big fan of the red and blue straps. I'm glad we're getting rid of those. I don't know. I mean, they're okay. It's not the worst title design we've ever seen.
I'm just trying to look up the different championships right now because, like, okay, so Becky and Seth's not Becky and Seth, Bailey and Cody's look similar. They have the big W, big gold plate in the middle.
Yep.
And then you got Damien's and the vacant one that Rhea had.
Yep.
Those ones had like the smaller circle with the W in it, like the worlds. So I mean, like, and then that's how the tag team titles look now. I mean, I'm curious to see how they're gonna make the other tag team titles look. Are you gonna give it like the bigger network W that like the Universal has?
So this, I don't know if you can see it, but that's the undisputed belt, and literally the only thing I think they're gonna change is where it says undisputed champion. I think they're just gonna put tag team champion. I think it'll look very similar.
Do you think they make it a little smaller?
It may be smaller. That's a good question. Did the old belts have side plates, like for the individual stars? Because that's something that I like about the new one. Is each team looks like they're gonna be able to get their own side plates.
That's a good question. I can't see right now.
But we do find out that R-Truth and first off, R-Truth in this segment is great as always. But they're going to fight DIY. I'm assuming at Backlash for these new titles. This tag division is about to be good. Vince McMahon didn't care, but that was Triple H's like pride and joy in it when he controlled NXT was that tag division. And it's about to be really good. It's about to be really good. So, and I always told people, I said this in the CWC Discord after Mania, Triple H set up his era with his people as champions outside of R-Truth and Miz, but that was going to change quickly and it's going to be DIY.
Hmm.
So, I mean, it's pretty obvious that what he's doing, not a bad thing, but let's move on here. With the main, well, I don't think it was the main event, because the main event was Jay and Finn, wasn't it?
No. The main event was Sammy Gunther.
Was it Sammy and
Sammy and
I'm gonna be completely honest. I fell asleep like around 10 o'clock. So
Sammy and
Chad.
Gable?
Yeah. Okay, so
Sammy
that was
Chad,
the main event. Okay, so Gable turns heel, which is heel-ish. No, not really clear yet. And so 2 questions: is this the right move for Gable, and what comes of it if we continue him as a heel?
Yes, I believe this is the right move for Chad Gable currently, because especially after you give him the title over Sammy at Mania, or the title against Sammy last night, eventually Chad's like, okay, what we're doing with him now? He was
Right.
treading water, hanging around like just on the cusp of getting the IC title, but couldn't get the job done. Eventually, you got to move on from the guy.
Right.
And now they turn him on the verge of being a heel, or at least turning on Sammy, seeing red and turning on him. You add more depth to his character. You can have a heel Chad Gable. You can see if there's any any friction between him and the rest of Alpha Academy now.
Right.
Like how do Otis and Tozawa and Maxine react? Lately he's been in the ring working with the Creed brothers. I think you upgrade, you bring the Creeds under your wing, and now you have like a really aggressive like Gable and the Creeds, almost like another Team Angle.
There you go.
And you know what I'm saying? I think that's where we go. I think you push Chad Gable to get over Sami Zayn, take the title. You know what I'm saying? He has to resort to new means. And then in the meantime, you push the Creed brothers and you put them over DIY down the line, or maybe even Awesome Truth down the line, and you have Chad Gable and the Creeds running rampant on that mid card.
Right.
Those are 3 of the best wrestlers in the world right there.
Yeah, absolutely, without a doubt. And just sort of like as a marketing scheme, like you have a former Olympian, you're going to put him at the major spot around the time that the Olympics are on. Yes. I have a feeling they're going to really press the fact that he's he's a gold medalist, I think, in 2012. The Olympics are this year. It's on NBC. It's marketing for everybody involved. And so I think seeing him be able to highlight that, I think in some way, I think we can get the Creeds involved. And I also think this is how you get Gable Stevenson on Raw in a way that makes sense. Last time we've seen him, he had that shitty match against Corbin.
And he got booed out the building.
So you bring him in on this heel team, this heel faction, where it's okay for him to get booed. And I really think that works. As for the rest of Alpha Academy, they've been on NXT way too much for me not to believe that they're not going to get drafted to NXT. I don't really see a picture for them. I mean, they could be in the tag division, but Tozawa is great at what he does. Otis is great at what he does. Maxine's even pretty decent, but I just don't find an area for them to be on the main roster.
No, what to do with them if Gable takes the Creeds under his wing and makes them the new Alpha Academy? What do you call Otis and Tozawa?
Right, and so that's a good question as well. What happens with Ivy Nile? Does she go with the Creeds? So there's a lot of questions that we can take a look into.
Well, I mean, you could have Ivy and Maxine feuding.
Yeah, absolutely.
Essentially, you have Otis, Tozawa, and Maxine versus the Creeds and Ivy Nile. Program.
Yeah, and I mean, you could even find someone that could take Chad's spot. I'm sure someone in NXT could play that.
To chase you.
Obviously, like honestly, yeah, Chase U taking that comedy gimmick role,
Yeah,
to
the
the main
energy.
roster would be pretty
Or no,
interesting.
I'm saying even like Otis and
Just
Tozawa joining
moving
Chase U at NXT.
in NXT. Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Almost like their tag division teachers.
Right. All right, so let's move on to these questions. So we got 3 from B Master, and that's all we got this week.
Dang,
Which
Kara.
So his first one was, and these are all really good questions. Paul Heyman has managed some great superstars over the year. However, he's never managed any females in the WWE. If you could have him manage a female superstar, who would it be?
Not gonna lie, at first I didn't realize that he posted this in the topic suggestion thing. So I answered him in the actual thing.
Right.
But I feel like if we could rewind time, I feel like Asuka would be a real good person for him to be a spokesperson of. I think someone like a Shayna Baszler would have been a great person for him to take, to be a spokesperson of, because both these guys lack the promo skills.
Right.
They're not really talkers, and they don't need to be talkers. Like their actions in the ring prove it.
Right.
Currently, if you're gonna put him in charge of a female on the roster, maybe a Jade Cargill, but I feel like she has enough personality and talking ability that she could hold her own. I feel like that's one of her strong suits is her personality and her bravado. Maybe someone like I don't know. I mean, I know you said Ivy Nile, or someone else said Ivy Nile, because like she has like that bodybuilder physique or whatever. But I just think she's still just too short. I mean, do you pair him with like a returning Rhea Ripley? Or do you pair him with like a heel Bianca? Like, I don't know.
So I looked at this as Paul Heyman has that ability to just being there get that person over. And so I didn't necessarily, theoretically, you're correct that he typically takes like the Brock Lesnar or the Roman Reigns and gets them over. But I think people tend to forget that what the fuck was his name? Michael McGillicuddy. What was
Kurt Hawkins. No, not Kurt Hawkins.
Curtis Axel. Curtis Axel was a Paul Heyman guy at one point. That's one of the failures of
Paul
Heyman.
That was because he had a terrible name.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And wasn't Ryback a Paul Heyman guy at one point too?
Oh yeah, but Ryback actually got over. He was over with the crowd.
Yeah.
Vince just put him over. But
Yeah.
Ryback was popular with the crowd. Everybody was like, "Feed me more." Like he was over.
Bro was over. Yeah, Vince just had something against him, and now Ryback's talking to Elmo on TikTok, so we can blame Vince for that. But I looked at this as, who do I think that if we paired them with Paul Heyman and allowed Paul Heyman to dictate their creative, would help them get over? And so that's why I said Ivy Nile, because I think Ivy Nile has decent enough ring experience. She has somewhat of a look. I think her problem right now is she's not necessarily a bad talker. She just doesn't have the booking. And so I think putting Paul Heyman there to help get her over. And then I thought of someone like Cora Jade. She's smaller, but again, the same thing. Cora Jade can talk. So she's sort of like that CM Punk person where she can talk, but having Paul Heyman there as Paul Heyman to sort of dictate her booking. She hasn't been booked the greatest. She can't stay healthy to save her life. But yeah, someone like that. I'm even thinking of another person who can't stay healthy, Nikita Lyons. She's an actual like fighter. If she could, not get hurt every time she returns to the ring, that would be wonderful. But I think there's people out there. I'm surprised he hasn't added a woman in WWE, but at the same time, I'm not really surprised, because up until 2015, they really didn't take the division all that serious. Yeah. So
an interesting person I just thought of. Imagine a dynamic between Paul Heyman and Thea Hale.
That would be interesting.
because like Thea Hale, like she, from what I see of her in the ring or whatever, see of her in the promos, she's like a WWE like historian. I feel like she has a lot of knowledge of WWE. She has a lot of
Right.
knowledge of history, and like she's an
But
animal. You know, what I'm
right,
saying
but
like,
but even someone I just thought of this one too, like Roxanne Perez. She sucks as a heel, but
mm,
if you had Paul Heyman do all the talking, and she just went out there because she's not bad at portraying it in terms of like in the ring, but it's just
yeah,
the facial aspect and the promo. Her voice does not scream heel. And while I'm thinking of this, I just thought of Lola Vice as well. But I don't know if Lola Vice. I mean, for her to be a heel, they do like to give her like she has the Miami colors of like the pink and blue,
yeah.
and it doesn't scream heel to me. That's her presentation doesn't scream heel to me.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, we could sit here and list names all day. Let's move on to his next question. Would you keep Cody face, or do you strike while the iron is hot and turn him heel?
I keep Cody face until he faces bigger like adversity.
Right,
I mean, like he's the top of the top as far as babyface. Like he's a white hot babyface. You know, I know they say strike while the iron's hot, but I don't know striking while the iron's hot is necessarily turning him heel.
right,
I feel like there's no reason for him to be heel right now.
exactly.
I feel like if he were to get screwed out of the title again, he didn't win it, then you go the whole like Homelander Cody route. But
Right,
like as of right now, Cody, he finished the story. The crowd is fully behind him. He's not losing the crowd yet. I think that Cody just keep pushing him as a face until
right.
until we reach that fork in the road where we could revisit it. I think right now is way too premature and
You're
unnecessary.
absolutely. So earlier this year, I had that episode where I was like, "Hey, yeah, let's send Cody. Let's have Roman beat him at Mania. Then Cody can sort of become like this sort of unhinged, where he's sort of like multiple personality." We all remember that episode. Yeah, Cody Rhodes is champion. He's the biggest baby face in the industry. They're not striking while the iron's hot is booking him like John Cena right now. You don't turn him. I don't ever think Cody Rhodes is going to be heel at this point, to be honest with you. Same way I feel about Bianca Belair. I don't see them turning because Cody Rhodes is too much of that John Cena character. We've seen him at house shows bring kids over the barricade and do the entrance with them. He hands the weight belt out to kids every time he goes to the ring. He is John Cena. He's the next John Cena.
Yeah.
And so there's no road for a heel turn in the story to begin with. And so he's the champion. There's really nothing hindering him from becoming champion. There's nothing for him to go heel against. And I think personally, WWE spent a lot of time building him as the biggest babyface. I don't see why you would immediately shift course and reverse all you built. I think that would just be a waste of time.
That's what I'm saying.
And so yeah, keep him at heel, or excuse me, keep him face as long as he can ride it out. And if he can run it out for 20 years like John Cena did, then let's do it. He's the biggest baby face in the industry right now.
Yeah.
And then his last question, you've been given the opportunity to create the Hall of Fame for 2025. Who do you have going in?
You want to answer first?
I will go first. So this was complete. So I have 5 people. 4 of the 5 don't change. 1 of the 5, the last one, changes depending on the location. This is going under the assumption that it's going to be in Minneapolis, Minnesota, like the rumors have it. So I'll do the 4 that don't change. Victoria will be my woman. Because why she's not in, I have no idea. I would put Batista in. I would have Demolition as the tag team, because also why they're not in yet is insane. And then my celebrity would be Cyndi Lauper. And if it's in Minnesota, I think this is a perfect place to do it. You put in Brock Lesnar. If it's not in Minnesota, if it's anywhere else, I don't put in Brock. I think with Vince out of the company, Triple H, I think, can work magic, and we could put in Owen Hart.
Okay.
But if it's in Minnesota, Brock Lesnar makes more sense than Owen Hart. So that'll be my answer.
All right. So I think you do Batista. I think he's like, the number one ballot right now.
Right.
If Batista is not ready for it yet, and John Cena does call it quits, I think you could put John Cena in, because I think from what it sounds like, is WrestleMania next year is John Cena's like retirement. That's what it sounds like.
He said he was going to retire at 50, didn't he?
The rumblings sound like it might be even sooner. It seems like it might be Mania next year.
Okay.
That's what the early rumblings are sounding like. So I would put Cena or Batista, depending if Cena is retiring at that WrestleMania.
Okay.
I think you put the Hardys in.
Okay.
Especially now that their AEW contracts are up. I know Matt's is up. Jeff has a little bit more time on his.
Yeah, I think it's like 8 months because of his injury.
Yeah, so you put the Hardys in. So you put Batista, the Hardys. For the women, you could put in the Victoria. She's long deserved. You could put in Mickie James.
Mm-hmm.
I know she's pretty much retired at this point, or at least she left TNA though. At the very least, she's home chilling right now.
Yeah.
Celebrity, I didn't really put too much thought into celebrities, because I'm just like, I don't really think celebrities should be in the Hall of Fame in the first place. Maybe is Jim Johnson in there yet?
He's not, but he's been on record that he will not accept a nomination. He doesn't want to go in.
Do they go? Do they leave on bad terms?
I think he was a little bit upset that they did release him, but I think it's more of he didn't want to take credit for the music. He just, like, there's a lot of people who don't view it as a real Hall of Fame.
Gotcha.
So I think who was it? I think it's Scott Steiner who feels that way, but he just got put in. So
I think he felt that way because it was his way of dealing with the fact that he probably wasn't getting in for a while.
Right.
Yeah. So I think I'm putting Batista, the Hardys, Victoria, or Mickie James, and then so he's not necessarily a celebrity, but I'm putting the boy Charles Robinson, one of the best referees of all time.
I also, in terms of that celebrity, you're talking about Jim Johnson. I have, with Triple H making these these picks, Motorhead's getting in eventually.
Oh yeah.
And so I think that'll be here in the next few years. But we got a lot of The Rock's still not in, but I don't think he'll put himself in now that he's on the board, at least while he's competing. Like you said, the Hardys. Are the Dudleys in yet?
Yes.
Because the Dudleys, we have this discussion on them, but we're John Cena. Orton's going to get retired here soon. He'll have to go in. So we got a lot of.
I think the Hardys are the last of the three to get in.
Yeah.
Edge and Christian are in. The Dudleys are in. You just need the Hardys.
We'll have, AJ's probably going to be in eventually. AJ Lee as well.
Possibly, yeah.
Eventually. Charlotte when she retires, which might be pretty soon.
Becky, Bailey.
Where we're getting to that point where, like, wrestlers who been here for New Day, they've already, and Pat McAfee just announced New Day as Hall of Famers on Raw yesterday.
He did? Oh.
He did. He said something about future Hall of Famers. I mean, of course, they're getting in. The Usos are getting in. Roman's getting in. Seth is getting in.
Question, is Roman Reigns a 3-time Hall of Famer?
So would you put him in it? So the Shield individually and then the Bloodline?
Yeah.
I mean, I think you'd have to. At least because the Shield did a lot of good. I see the Shield being the last of the three, though, with Moxley not being in WWE.
Yeah. And then you got the Usos as two-time Hall of Famers on their own and as part of the bloodline.
Yeah, I think it'll have to happen that way.
Honestly, like we could do a little show of just like thinking people who to be in the Hall of Fame,
right?
Like we could do like a segment like each every week, each of us bring like 3 people, and we say their name, you say your name to make the Hall of Fame. I was thinking people like Shelton Benjamin. Did Shelton Benjamin make a WWE Hall of Fame?
I would. I think I would. Yeah, I think I would. Has Eddie's already gone in?
Yeah, you still got cats like Chris Jericho.
Jericho's not in. I mean, everyone's going to be edgy and be like, you got to put Chris Benoit in, and of course he deserves to be in, but he's not going in. TKO's not going to risk that type of business decision. So, I mean, I'm even thinking someone like Jim Cornette.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
Cornette, I think, didn't he manage the Midnight Express? They're not in yet.
I mean, you can even put him in the celebrity wing if you really want to.
Right.
Watch it, or no, like just like a wrestling, like he's wrestling history.
Yeah.
From WWE, WCW,
what would be hilarious? And again, I'm petty. Is I would put Cornette and Russo in the same class, just to have them in the arena at the same time.
You're causing trouble there. You're causing trouble. That's A1 instigation right there.
Right. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people who should be in. I mean, like you said, we could do this every week and just name people. CM Punk, he's gonna get in. But with that, that's not it. And yet we got Thirsty Tuesday. How can we forget this?
Yeah, I forgot about Thirsty Tuesday.
All right, so let's announce our winners. I haven't even looked at this since I put it up last week. So let's remind everyone. So the first matchup was Chelsea versus Jade. You went Chelsea, I went Jade last week, if I remember correctly, right?
Yes.
All right. So our vote in the Discord, we had 4 votes for each one of these. With a 3-1 vote is Chelsea Green. So Chelsea's moving on. All right. So we had Deanna versus Mariah May.
It's Chelsea.
You had Mariah, I had Deanna, and the Discord again with the vote to 3-1.
Yo, I'm the people of the Discord.
Chose Mariah May. This vote here doesn't matter because we already both picked Selena Vega over Anna Jade, which is a good thing that we both agreed because there was a tie here.
Yes.
So Selena Vega already had gone through. And then we had Elektra Lopez and Liv Morgan, and unanimous 4 votes to nothing side with you with Liv Morgan.
Yes.
So it looks like Wavy D is the one everyone likes to go with. So let's talk about this week's 4 matchups. We'll go ahead and talk about the hardest one for Wavy D, and this was completely randomized. I didn't do this on purpose. We have Indy Hartwell, his new baddie in the WWE, versus his old baddie, Asuka.
Facts.
All right, so who do you pick in there? You got to pick one.
I'm going. Crash. It's hard. Now, are we doing them current day or in their prime? Any point of their life?
It is just today? When you think of them, what do you think of?
We're doing today. I guess we'll do today.
Okay, we can do today.
I gotta go Indy Hartwell today. If you ask me this question,
okay,
a little bit ago, I might have said Asuka, especially Prime Asuka. like when she debuted in TNA. When she debuted in NXT.
Right.
It was a baddie, but I gotta go Indy Hartwell.
All right. I'm going Indy as well. So the Discord, I want to hear your thoughts, but Indy Hartwell's moving on. So the next one is Jakara Jackson from NXT versus Bayley.
You can pick first.
I'm going Jakara Jackson. He's got to do some research live on the air here.
Oh, okay. I'm going Bailey.
You're going Bailey? All right. So we're split vote on that one. All right. So now we have AEW's Sky Blue versus Bianca Belair.
So why I typed in Sky Blue. It was just pictures of the sky with clouds. You said Sky Blue versus who?
Bianca Belair.
Okay, so Sky Blue looks like a knockoff Cora Jade almost.
Basically.
I don't know. I think that's a nice picture of Toy Storm. I think I gotta go Bianca Belair.
Yeah, I gotta go Bianca here as well.
Sky Blue's not bad. Like, she's definitely not bad. I mean, like, she's bad, but she's not bad. You know what I'm saying?
Right. We got you there.
And
then the fourth is AEW's Julia Hart.
I'm not a fan of her.
Versus Roxanne Perez.
Roxanne Perez.
Yeah, I agree. So really the only vote that really matters for this week would be Jakara versus Bailey. But I want to see what everyone says about it in the Discord. I'm looking forward to seeing what the votes are. With that, any final words?
Let's see. NBA playoffs started today. You know what I'm saying? Let's go Celtics. We had a 14.5 game lead above the second seed. We had 63 wins. Knicks had like 49 or 50, whatever they finished with. Also, shout out to my boy Drake, Canadian's finest. You know what I'm saying? This boy is currently in a 20v1 gauntlet match or handicap match versus the whole hip hop game right now. And he has released a mean diss track. And that right there is just the tip of the iceberg, okay? So Kendrick Lamar, watch it back. Rick Ross, watch it back. Future, watch it back. Metro, shut your bitch ass, make some drums. All right. And it's all about Drake, OVO gang. Here we at.
Yes, sir. I feel that. All right. Yeet. So with that, as always, again, use that QR code at the bottom of the screen. Get your WWE merch. All the other links are in the description. Join that Discord group if you're not already in it. That's where a lot of the conversation takes place. And then tune in on Thursday, though I do think this Thursday's episode is predictions for Dynasty, which I think is on Sunday.
For the Junkyard?
Yeah, for the Junkyard. So they'll fill us in on what's happening on AEW.
So what before you end, what is the deadline to where we could like ramp up these MJF talks?
So for me, if he does not appear at Dynasty this Sunday, I'm thoroughly convinced he's AEW. Or he's WWE.
Well, isn't there next pay-per-view after Dynasty? Is that the Long Island one?
It's Double or Nothing. I do. Is that the Long Island one? I don't know.
I think the one after Dynasty is the one where they're at Long Island. So that's my cutoff.
That's going to be your cutoff?
If MJF's not at the Long Island pay-per-view, then it's fair game. I'm ramping up discussion.
So the way I looked at it was, I know James posted the damn pay-per-view schedule. Anyway, if he's not at Dynasty, I think you have to at least consider him being a surprise draft pick in the draft.
Okay.
But if he's not, like, I'm not going to sit here and be like 100% he's going to be WWE at the draft. But I think I agree with you. If he's not at the Long Island shows, then I think you do have to consider that, yeah, there's a chance that he could be on the WWE programming.
Dynasty's in St. Louis, Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
Double or Nothing is in Nevada.
Yeah, that's in Las Vegas.
And then they got Forbidden Door, which is in Almont, New York.
Yeah, which is Long Island. It's in June. Yeah, which is in June.
Forbidden Door is the one that's in Long Island.
Right, which is June 30th, which just happens to be like 6 days before Money in the Bank.
Okay.
So, I mean, if he's not at Forbidden Door, is he like a secret sixth member of Money in the Bank?
That conversation will ramp up.
We're about 2 months away from that, 2.5 months away. So I think these MJF talks will start ramping up. We haven't really heard much from anyone about them since December. So I think those talks have to start ramping up. But yeah, a lot of people seem to think he's going to show up this weekend at Dynasty, but we'll see. But with that, again, thank y'all for watching. If you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, thumb up, share, subscribe. On podcast, leave a review. And until then, I'll see y'all on Friday. You won't see Wavy D again till next Tuesday. Until then, though, y'all have a great rest of your week, and see y'all on the next episode.
Yep.
Brother, I'm going run a wild Hulk Hogan. If all I get's a moment, I'll make sure it's an explosion. 'Cause lately I've been seeing stars, trying to kick out of this jaw cord. But it's no holds barred.